Brought to you by Penguin.
Clive Cussler's Ghost Soldier by Mike Madden. Read by Scott Brick.
When you're wounded and left on Afghanistan's plains, and the women come out to cut up what remains, just roll to your rifle and blow out your brains, and go to your God like a soldier. Rudyard Kipling, The Young British Soldier. Prologue. 1945, Northfield, Guam. The Moonshiner was the 87th aircraft in a line of 145 B-29B Superfortress bombers rolling down the tarmac. Their primary target was an aircraft factory near Tokyo, 1,500 miles away, about the distance from Canada to Mexico, and most of it over shark-infested waters. Normally stationed by the putt-putt auxiliary motor during takeoff, the claustrophobic 22-year-old tail gunner, Technical Sergeant Carl Jansen, had been given permission to stand near the cockpit so he could watch the takeoff through the big glass canopy. The pilot matched the brakes to the floorboard, his eyes fixed on the bomb-laden plane ahead of him wobbling uneasily into the sky. Jansen mopped the sweat from his forehead. But it wasn't from the heat. He'd seen enough fatal crashes during takeoff to know this part of the flight was as dangerous as the flak and fighters waiting to ambush them along the way. This would be his fourth mission over Japan. Not so long ago, he was riding a Farmall F-20 tractor in his father's cornfields near Manteca, California. Over his mother's protests, he waived his occupational service exemption to join the war before it was too late. Finally cleared by the tower, the pilot advanced the 4 throttles, rattling the airframe as they powered up. He released the brakes, and the Moonshiner rolled forward with its crew of 8 and 20 tons of munitions. Moments later, the 67-ton war wagon was aloft. In the air over Tokyo, Jansen stood in the cramped tail section compartment, his head on a swivel and his hands on the radar-assisted pedestal gun sight. Japanese interceptors preferred nighttime attacks, and they especially favored hitting the big American bombers from the rear. That put Jansen squarely in the crosshairs. It didn't matter. He had a job to do. Built for speed and increased range, the B-29B had only one gunnery station, his. If Japanese fighters closed in on his vulnerable position, it just meant he had a better chance of swatting them out of the sky with his .350 caliber Browning machine guns. He told his mother that his body armor and helmet protected him from Japanese bullets, but it wasn't true. He put more faith in his parachute, despite the fact he had never gone through actual jump training. The tail section roared with engine noise as the young gunner glanced through the large armored glass windows. The night sky was filled with the shadows of bombers in formation, and more ominously, hundreds of small black clouds of flak thumping all around them. The first planes were already dropping their loads. Clouds covered the city far below, their undersides lit up by the flickering lights of exploding ordnance. "Bombs away," the bombardier said. His voice over the interphone was clear and measured, despite the thundering flak. The Moonshiner shuddered as the 1,000-pound bombs released from their bay. Jansen had once sat in the bombardier's tiny, unarmored compartment in the glass nose during a training flight in Texas. "Best seat in the house," the mustachioed lieutenant had joked with him. Jansen wasn't so sure back then. But now, standing here, with their P-51 Mustang fighter escorts far behind them, Jansen wondered if the bombardier wasn't right after all. A sudden blinding explosion tore through Jansen's compartment. Searing pain clawed at his back, shredding his parachute. With the distant shouts of "Bail out!" screaming in his headphones, the gunner turned and reached for the emergency door, only to see the Moonshiner's flaming fuselage streaking high and away.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?